Hey, it's Jay here. When I was planning my Big A MFT table, one of the thoughts I had was vacuum clamping. I kind of didn't exactly get around to it while I was building it, so I'm planning on trying to add it on here. When I was researching this table, I was looking at this company called Track Tubes, and they make tubes specifically for their own kind of MFT design, which are really not tubes. They're just extrusions, aluminum extrusions. I eventually chose 80/20 extrusions, mostly based on cost because I got a good deal on them. They have since released something that I have in this box called a Vacu Dog, which is a dog that goes down into the dog hole, sits flush with the table, and acts as a vacuum clamp. So I had picked up one of those months ago, and it's time to start trying to use it. My original plan was to try to do this vacuum stuff for under $100. This thing was $55, I think, but when you add in shipping and tax and all that, it was closer to 60 some dollars. And then when I went searching for a pump, I decided I really didn't want to have extension cords everywhere for my pump, so I bought this battery powered one, and instead of about $40, this wound up being about 60 something dollars. And so that kind of blew the budget. But I thought maybe if I had some 3D printed stuff, now that I have a 3D printer, I could pretend I didn't buy the Vacu Dog, and we'll still review that, but pretend I didn't buy the Vacu Dog and see if I could still make the $100 mark. So I'm going to go through this video. I will sort of say everything doesn't go well, but stay tuned. It's fun. Okay, this thing is called the Vacu Dog. And when you open it up, you get the Vacu Dog valve body, it looks like, or some sort of additional top piece. And you get a few of these rubber gaskets in different sizes, 2 big ones and 4 of these small ones, and you get a tool. So I'm going to install it probably into the center hole right here and try it out, and then I'll figure out how I really want to use it once I see if and how it works. Izzy Swan in his videos said MFD was the worst type of material to put vacuum through, so if I build something else for it, I'll probably build it out of something different, but for now, let's just try it out. Okay, so step 1, pop this out, use the tool to make sure this is snug. Need to touch, but not much. Should be good. Already chamfered my dog holes. So, I take this off the top of this. And I'm going to wish I had 18 different hands, I think, here. Ooh, that is tight. Oof. And then that fits spot on right there. There we go. It's in. I have a Vacu Dog. What? Alright, so then they say do this. And I got some tubing, and I've got a pump. So after going to Amazon to pick up some adapters so that I could actually connect the thing, I'm back in action. Okay, so I looked on Amazon, and the first thing I found were these just adapters like this that I could put here, and that just adapts it to the right thread that most of these kind of things use. So I was able to screw that on, and that would have been fine, but I found later that they actually had a proper, it's a 5/16/18 on this pump here, and I think that's pretty standard for these air conditioning car air conditioning type pumps or whatever. So it doesn't take much. You just kind of tighten it down. I don't even need to use a wrench, and then I haven't tried this one yet, but I should just be able to plug this guy in. Well, it's really tight, but it seems to be in. And got my battery in there, so I should be able to clamp something down now. This thing's a little bit annoying, and it's cheap Chinesium, so it's been smoking when it uses a DeWalt battery, which is what it's supposed to use, but if I use its own battery, it runs a little slower and doesn't smoke. Okay, why is it dead? Did I smoke it? That would suck. For some reason it needed a new battery after running for like 10 seconds the night before and just sitting in the thing the whole rest of the day. So there's something funny going on here. There we go. Alright, I guess Phil's battery is just sitting in it, but drop that on there. You can see that board is a little bit warped, so vacuum clamping doesn't work well with warped boards. One down for vacuum clamping. Doing something, but it's definitely not grabbing this piece of wood. What about this guy? Okay, grabs that one. And you can see it starts smoking. It doesn't smell like smoke. It's definitely doing something. Letting the smoke out. Alright. Well, I can't even get this little piece off. There it goes finally. Okay. Well, that went pretty well. Test one, good. Alright, so what I did to try to do something cheaper is I decided to try 3D printing. And you can see this is just a box with a little bit of tubing with a little seal around it, and I went ahead and put a fitting on there. Let's see, get the tube out of this fitting. There we go. Put it in this one. Let's see how that works. I'll use a piece of wood that actually stuck to this. Oh yeah, it's only good. Okay, so that works well as well. I should be able to just kind of loosen that off. So test 2 appears to be a success. It's actually to hang this here. It looks like it'll sort of fit. I don't particularly like the way it fits, so I might have to design my own eventually, but I'm trying to use designs. This one's from, I can't remember the name of the guy. I'll put it on the screen. And the cost of this, I had to get some of this seal. This was $15 for enough to do about 100 of those, I think. And I had to get some of these fittings. The cheapest way to buy these fittings was to pay about $10 or $12 for 10 of them. So they're about $1 plus each. And this is about $2 worth of printer material. I think it's $1.80 or something is what it estimated. They have these smaller ones that were right around $1. And I could potentially put one of those down here as well. And I think I probably will. You have to be super careful when doing this. These things just love to crack. I printed one of these out that is double-sided. It should stay. Print this guy out that's double-sided, which is why I already had a pre-cut length. And I screwed one into that, and it just cracked right there, and the whole thing just leaks, so it doesn't work. All right. And these are PTG, not PLA, so they should be a little stronger for that. So I think in general, I am going to step up to ABS for most of these shop type projects. Okay. Even though I have a hardware store, I didn't have the hardware necessary to connect the plastic straight onto my side of my MFT, so I went ahead and made a wooden adapter so I could use some longer screws and get it in there. And I want to be able to try to clamp wood on edge, work it that way. Okay. Sucker's good. Alright. The quick and dirty solution here. Let's see how this works. These 3D printed ones don't work very well at all, I gotta say. Not a great trick here. Well, test number 3 didn't go so well. I think there's a variety of things going on here, but my first thought was to try the bigger one and see if the extra surface area would help it stick a little better. If I'm working on that, it's just going to move. It's not very good. Well, clearly this is another fail. So I've got to figure out what's going on. So much fail. Okay, so I was looking at this, and I decided to hook this guy back up. If I run him, hook him to this piece of wood, you can see it turns and it doesn't hold very well. It's pretty easy to just move around on there, so it's not going to hold well enough to be useful. I think that's normal. I think the oil pulls in some humidity from the air and burns it off eventually, so it doesn't smell like anything, but you see that? That's a pretty quick loss of pressure, so there's definitely a leak there. So I think what I'm going to try to do is track down that leak and see if maybe I'm just doing something wrong. So let me just go ahead and pop this off of here. And go ahead and Teflon tape this guy up. Okay. Now, take this out. Kind of do the same thing there, although this came with some thread sealer on here, but it's going into this plastic and maybe the threads just aren't that good, so I'll put a good amount of this on here. I think so. This model, this thing should be more solid, so I think if I printed this again I would increase the infill, because on this one I cracked it, so I think that should have way more infill. That should be a very solid piece instead of whatever it is, so pretty well. I definitely tightened it down way tighter than I did last time. Okay, the other thing is this seal here The original designer said to use CD glue to glue that stuff in. I have future glue. One of the problems I have is my glue all tends to dry up because it hangs around for too long. So I'm going to put a good amount of that in here and hope that that maybe helps the bottom seal inside the plastic. It smashes down on the top and it should seal there, and then I'll put some on the end when I get to that point as well. So as I push it down in there, it's going to get glued in. Oh god, it's getting everywhere. I'm going to get glued to it. Be a little bit careful here. I am going to get glued to it. I'll just go along with the day of failure. Vacuum failure. Alright. And then put some in between these two and make sure the two sides get glued together. Alright, I did a little cleaning after about 20 minutes later. This should be dry by now. And hopefully I don't glue my thumbnail to my thumb again. And I've done three things. I put Teflon tape here and here. I glued down this gasket, and unfortunately where I glued the gasket together there's a little bit of a hard spot, but I think that'll work its way around. I've kind of crunched it up a little bit and it feels better. And then I noticed that this tubing on one end that I cut was just at a slight angle, so maybe when I shoved it in here there was another leak. So let's just double check everything. Plugged it in, that feels good. Put this one in. Nice, okay, nice and tight. And there we go. See how it does this time. Yeah, that's much better. It's still not great, but it's better. That lasted a lot longer, so I definitely had some leakage. I think the way forward is to get a gauge, a vacuum gauge, put it on this thing, and make a little manifold here and put a vacuum gauge on it. And then that way I can see how much leakage I have. I feel like this thing was working fine, so it definitely is doing much better. I figured out that the gaskets that thing uses, I think, are neoprene gasket material. So I bought some 1/16 inch neoprene gasket material to see if it would work as well. And I got mine adhesive, so I can stick it on things that I maybe make and try to make them work better than these. I feel like the gasket material is the key to making this work better, where it holds the thing tighter against that gasket, and that gasket provides the non-slip surface. The one thing I don't like about the Vacu Dog, it's a really solid product. It's well made, 100%. Dig it. I think they've done a great job making those. The thing I don't like about it is it takes up a hole in my table, and then it has a thing coming out, so if I go in there and put clamps in, I'm going to have this tubing hanging around down there. It's just going to kind of be in the way. My plan, as I do some updates to this, is, and I'm going to do an update video with this, is to make an extension that has some dog holes in it. And I think if I put the Vacu Dog in one of those, maybe I'll make two of them, one with a Vacu Dog in it, one without, that add extension to the table and could provide a clamp, and maybe it raises up and down. Because the thing I really don't like about it as well is that, boom, that's on the surface. It's just like clamping it down, so when I take a router to it, it's going to dig in or if I take a saw to it or whatever, I'd rather have it raised up in the air, like have one of these, and have it raised up in the air to where I can work on it a little better. And I think that's one of the advantages of that vacuum clamping would provide. So anyway, I was hoping to get all this done so I could use it on my speaker project, but I think the speaker project is going to go with good old styrofoam. And for my final fail, you can see this DeWalt battery was sitting in that pump. Yeah, I left it in the pump for a couple of weeks, I think, and it just sort of sat in there without even turning it on, and it is completely flat, dead. Will not charge. If I put this good battery in, boom, charges right up. So I'm gonna make a rig to try to bring this thing back to life. I think this pump choice was a fail as well. This is the dead battery, and I think I will probably wind up with that again if I continue to use this. So I am going to make some nice jumpers to be able to jump these batteries back to life. And I think a jumper is about yay long should do. There's a storm going on outside, so you can see the dogs hanging around. He's usually not happy to be down in the shop, but tonight he is. Supposedly if you attach the B minuses and the B pluses to another battery for a few seconds, it'll sort of jump start the dead battery and allow it to charge. So that's my plan here. So B minus to B minus. Nice and easy. And B plus to B plus. Okay, I'm gonna do this with a pair of needle nose. Hang on, let me go get that. All right, it made sense to get some yellow needle nose to do this. I'm gonna use these to plug it in for like 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And everything comes out. And supposedly, whichever one of these was bad is reset now. Little damn, let's see, one working, and this guy. Boom, also working. Sweet. All right, at least I didn't ruin a battery with that stupid pump. Thanks for watching, and you might want to subscribe. I can fail so you don't have to. Thank you.